Everyone, we're going to call tonight's meeting to order. And we'll begin with the approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Andrews. Good. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Andrews, all in favor? And that is carried. Any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we will rise for the singing of our national anthem, please.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We would like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territory of the Williams Treaty Nations and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and is home to many Indigenous people today. Tonight's meeting is being aired on public television and or streamed live and may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. Any member of the public connecting via telephone is reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Please remain muted until the chair requests comments or questions from the public. Tonight we do have a public meeting, and with that I will turn the chair over to Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. First off, anyone who would like to speak to this matter may call 1-289-801-5774 and enter conference ID 501-013-414. Call #. Callers will be invited to provide their questions or comments following the conclusion of this presentation. Any members of the public connecting via telephone are reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Anyone who wants to be notified of further consideration of this topic. Oh, my camera's not on, excuse me. Oh, now I'm disrupted. Thank you very much. Oh, good, thank you. Anyone who wants to be notified of further consideration of this topic, please submit your name, phone number, mailing address, and email address to clerksdepartment@orangeville.ca or call 519-941-0440, extension 2242, and reference 2024 Development Charges Study Addendum PM-2024-009. Note that any information collected is a matter of public record. At this time, we'll call on Nancy Neal, who's the manager of Watson and Associates. Council, I guess we'll have to have a motion at this time to waive the requirements of the procedural bylaw to allow Ms. Neal's presentation to extend beyond the 5-minute time limit. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews, Councillor McIntosh, all in favor? Yes, that carries unanimously. Ms. Neal?
Good evening.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Great. And I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that. Good evening. Happy to be before you again to give you a highlight of the addendum report that has been released to the public for consideration, really to correct for an error that was discovered after the development charge bylaw was passed just recently. So I will give you an overview of what that is this evening. This is a mandatory meeting. Since the bylaw passed, you do have to go through the public process that's required under the Development Charges Act to make any amendments to your bylaw. So prior to consideration, a development charge background study And draft bylaw is required to be circulated for a minimum of 2 weeks prior to a public meeting and a minimum of 60 days prior to any bylaw passage. The original 2024 background study was initially released on August 8th. It was amended slightly on September 12th, which really provided yourselves with the study and bylaw to consider and adopt that you did by passing bylaw 2024-060. Since we had received just a day or two before that bylaw passage, an extensive list of questions from the development community. And as we were going through that, once the bylaw was passed and continuing to work with staff, we did notice that there was an error in the calculations to the townwide and the area-specific charges for the services related to a highway component only. So that's your roads and related component. Therefore, we decided to quickly put an addendum together and get this public process underway to correct for that error so that you can pass an amending bylaw in the new year and have the charges that are being collected going forward correct. The project that this relates to is the Hanson Boulevard Bridge. So there is a component of this bridge that is required specifically for the developments that are happening in the area. That portion is to be recovered through the area-specific development charges. However, there's some oversizing of this bridge project that will then benefit as well the entire community as a whole with all of the development that's happening throughout the town. And it's that oversizing component that's supposed to be picked up in the town-wide charges versus those area-specific charges. In the initial, the town-wide share related to the oversizing is supposed to be 11% of the overall costs. However, the calculations in the initial study had that percentage pointed to the wrong share, and it was actually included at 53% in the townwide charges and only 47% in the area-specific charges versus 89% of the cost of that project that should have been picked up in the area-specific charges. So this, as I mentioned, was flagged by the development community. They recognized it, so we are amending both the townwide and the area-specific charges specific to this project only as part of this addendum. What that means is really as part of the background study of the overall cost of this project of $3.282 million, we had just over $1.76 million identified in the townwide charges where we should have only included $358,000. And then on the area specific side of it, the reverse happened. We didn't include enough with $1.54 million of gross costs being included where $2.92 million should have been. So there is on the area specific side as well a little bit of a benefit to existing. So a minor adjustment has to take place for that. But really what it comes down to as net recoverable costs through the townwide DC should be $1.378 million less than what's in the calculated rates right now in your bylaw, and there should be $1.355 million and change included in that area specific charge. What that means then is really a reduction overall from what is in your current bylaw right now for a single family home at $9,620. For this component, it should have been $9,020. So there'll be a $600 reduction to the charge townwide for a single or semi-detached home. And then depending on the other types of residential units, again, there'll be a deduction overall in how much the municipal or townwide charges will be. On the non-residential side, it's a 27-cent per square foot reduction in that townwide charge. On the flip side, on the area-specific charge, we had originally calculated a charge of $14,803. That's based on a cost per net hectare, and really that should have been $27,998. So that is increasing to pick up the difference of those costs that should be recovered through the area-specific charges. What that means for your town-wide charges is right now, if you look at the total for a single detached home that we passed in the bylaw, it's a slight reduction, still coming out to where you are compared to your local municipal comparators, around the same level with just that $600 reduction in the charge. Similarly, on the commercial side, that reduction in the charge of 27 cents per square foot lowers you down, but really still keeps you in the same level of where you are with your other comparators. And then on industrial, the same thing. The reduction in the charge is identified there for the proposed amendment, going down to that $17.35 overall, with all the services included. So really what we're here tonight is to present this, to receive any other public comments. If we have to refine the proposed amending bylaw that's included with the addendum report, we would do that prior to your consideration to pass that amending bylaw on January 27th and have it become effective immediately so that staff are imposing the correct charge. Now, it's my understanding from discussions with staff, so far there has not been any development charges collected under the incorrect rates. So we're hoping that with the holiday season and the winter season, we can get this passed as quickly as possible, which is the January 27th date, to ensure that going forward, the correct charges are in place. So that is my presentation for this evening. It's very high level. It's only on one project, as I noted, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you or the public have.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. Is there anyone on the telephone, Mona, that would like to ask a question? No, seeing none. Okay. Council, any questions? Councillor Andrews, please.
Thank you, Chair Taylor, and Nancy, nice to see you again. And thank you for this updated and correction to the development charges as noted. Either I can take this offline, or since I happen to have you in your present tense here, under Schedule B of the deck that we received on council, would it be possible for either you or someone from staff, and again, this can be taken offline, but since you happen to be in this public forum, I noticed a particular amount that is allocated for Parks and Recreation Services in the amount of $11,951 for single and detached dwelling. And so this is, of course, the cumulative amount that would end up being, as you've noted here, approximately 48 and change, and then, of course, up to 54 in the development charge. How was that calculated?
Well, the original study, because this addendum doesn't have anything to do with the Parks and Recreation component,
That's right.
just the roads. The original study listed in Chapter 5 all of the incremental additional capital projects that were anticipated to be put in place to service the growth in both outdoor parks development and indoor recreation facility needs over the term of the bylaw. And really, there's some extensive costs that are needed to be put in place for those two services, the indoor recreation and outdoor parks. And really, 95% of the costs associated with parks and recreation benefit the residential growth. We do recognize 5% on the non-residential side, because there may be people that work in Orangeville and use your parks or your indoor rec facilities, you know, on their lunch hours or before work or after work. So we do allocate a little bit of the costs associated with the non-residential growth, but because the majority is related to your residential growth and the extensive projects that have been identified that are needed to service growth, that cost does tend to be larger on a per unit basis. Okay, so hopefully, without getting into pulling up the exact specific projects that you may have question or concern about, hopefully that helps you understand a bit more as to how we allocate those costs.
Helps out tremendously. And again, I thank you for the detail that you've provided here. Thank you.
Very good. And no other follow-ups? No? Okay. There's no other questions from council? Oh, okay. So at this time, we'll have a motion as written in the agenda that report PM 2024-009, 2024 development charges study addendum be received for information. Can I have a motion? Councillor McIntosh, Councillor Sherwood, all in favor? Yes, that passes unanimously, and I'll pass the chair back over to Mayor Post.
Thank you for being here tonight, Nancy, and thank you, Deputy Mayor. We will move into bylaws then. The recommendation is that the confirming bylaw that's listed below be read 3 times and finally passed, which is just the confirmatory bylaw for the council public meeting held tonight. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Stevens and Councillor Sherwood, all in favor? And that is carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Stevens, all in favor? Thank you very much. We'll see you back at 7 o'clock for our council meeting.